How dare you? Do you think you're better than my children? If you know me, you will walk and clean the whole house and cook. Nobody will help you.
The rain came without mercy. It beat against the rusted zinc roof like angry fists, leaking through every corner, every hole, every forgotten crack. The small, crumbling house smelled of wet dust, forgotten dreams, and hopeless prayers whispered too many times. 9-year-old Adana Okoro sat huddled in the corner, her knees pressed to her chest, her thin dress soaked from the droplets falling through the ceiling. She wasn't crying. She had cried too much that year. Tonight her eyes held only fear. Fear of the silence. Fear of what she already knew. Fear of what she could not change. She kept her gaze on the old iron bed where her mother lay, breathing in slow, painful gasps. The woman who had been her shield against the world was slipping away. "Adana," her mother whispered. Her voice was barely a breath, but Adana rushed to her side immediately. "Yes, Mama, I'm here," she said, her small hands trembling as she held her mother's weak fingers. Her mother tried to smile, but it faltered halfway, giving room to pain. "Listen to me, my sunshine." Her voice cracked, and for a moment she closed her eyes, fighting for air. "You must be strong." Adana nodded quickly, tears burning her eyes. "You must promise me," her mother continued, "that no matter what happens, you will never forget who you are." "Who am I, Mama?" Adana whispered, her voice breaking. Her mother opened her eyes, dim, fading, but full of the deepest love Adana would ever know. "You are chosen. You carry a destiny bigger than this world will admit. They may look down on you, they may try to break you, but my child, you are light." Adana began to cry, shaking her head. "I don't want to be light. I want you to stay. I want you, Mama." Her mother lifted a weak hand and touched her cheek. "You will rise, even when they push you down. One day, you will build a name that will echo beyond these walls." Her breathing became uneven, shallow. "Mama, Mama, stay with me." Adana's voice rose in panic. "Mama, please." But her mother wasn't hearing her anymore. Her fingers slipped from Adana's grasp. Her chest stopped rising. The world went painfully, violently silent. For a moment, Adana sat frozen, her small body shaking. Then a sound finally tore out of her chest, a sound no child should ever make, a scream, a plea, a broken cry that shattered the night. She clung to her mother's lifeless body, sobbing into the cold skin that no longer held warmth. Outside, the rain continued to fall, as if the heavens themselves mourned with her. Minutes later, maybe hours, she couldn't tell, the wooden door burst open. A woman stepped in, her wrapper tied loosely, her expression tight with annoyance instead of concern. Chisholm Okoro, her mother's sister. The woman who would soon reshape Adana's life with fists of iron and a heart of stone. Instead of running to comfort the child, she folded her arms. "So it has finally happened," she said coldly. "Stand up, Adana. This crying will not bring her back." Adana didn't move. Chisholm clicked her tongue impatiently. "Child, do you want people to mock us? Wipe your face. Your mother is gone. From now on, your life will be different." She turned away without offering a hug, a prayer, or even a moment of silence. And in that instant, Adana realized something. Her mother's death was not the worst thing that would happen to her. It was only the beginning. Women whispered behind their wrappers. Men shook their heads. Children stared wide-eyed as Chisholm dragged Adana by the arm toward her compound, not minding the mud splashing on the little girl's bare feet. To the villagers, Chisholm was a good woman for taking in her late sister's child, but only Adana knew the truth. Behind Chisholm's sharp smile lived a heart carved from stone. The compound she dragged Adana into was far larger than the one she had known. 3 huts, a shared kitchen, a chicken house, and a small store. Smoke rose from burning firewood. The aroma of pepper soup drifted from a pot boiling outside. This place was supposed to be home now. Chisholm didn't let her breathe. "You will sleep in the storeroom," she said bluntly, pushing open a small wooden door. The room was dark, dusty, smelling of old yam peels and forgotten tools. "Auntie, please, can I stay in the other room, even on the floor?" Adana asked meekly. Chisholm turned sharply. "Are you talking back to me? Eh?" Her voice rose like a whip. "In this house, you speak only when spoken to. Do you understand?" Adana quickly nodded. Tears gathered in her eyes, but she wiped them before they could fall. She remembered her mother's last words. "You are light." But right now, she felt like shadows. Moments later, 2 figures entered the yard, Chisholm's children. Kamsi, the elder at 15, tall with sharp eyes that always seemed to calculate. Ifunanya, 13, small and pretty, with a face that hid wickedness behind sweetness. Both girls paused when they saw Adana. Kamsi smirked. "So she has arrived." Ifunanya giggled. "She looks like a wet chicken." Adana lowered her gaze. Chisholm didn't stop them. In fact, she said proudly, "She will be living here now, and she will work for what she eats. I didn't bring her here to become another mouth to feed." The girls exchanged delighted glances. It was the beginning of a new kind of suffering. Adana swept, fetched water, washed plates, arranged firewood, and helped in the kitchen. All with one small bowl of leftover pap in her stomach. By evening, her back ached, her hands were trembling, her eyes felt heavy. But she didn't complain. Complaining only triggered Chisholm's anger. "Go inside and sleep," her aunt said at last, pointing at the storeroom. Adana walked in and sat on a sack of gari, hugging her knees in the cold darkness. She could hear Kamsi and Ifunanya laughing in the other room, cracking groundnuts, eating suya their uncle brought earlier. In that moment, she realized something. She was no longer family. She was a servant. She tried to stay strong. She tried to remember her mother's voice. But as the night deepened and the sounds outside faded, loneliness wrapped around her like a blanket of thorns. She whispered into the darkness, "Mama, where are you? Please don't leave me alone." The silence answered her, and Adana cried herself to sleep. The next day was worse. Chisholm handed her a list of chores longer than her small arm: sweeping, washing, cooking, carrying water, plucking vegetables, washing bathroom, scrubbing pots. "You must finish everything before sunset," her aunt ordered. Adana nodded, even though her chest felt tight. As she picked up the broom, Kamsi and Ifunanya walked past her. Ifunanya smirked and whispered, "Welcome to your new home, House of Thorns." And they were right. Every day that followed pricked her, cut her, bruised her. But somewhere deep inside the pain, a tiny flame refused to die. A flame she didn't yet understand. A flame that would one day burn brighter than every insult, every slap, every betrayal. But for now, she was only beginning her journey through the fire. The years that followed hardened Adana the way fire shapes gold. By 12, she could sweep the entire compound before sunrise. By 13, she could cook for 10 people, fetch water from the stream twice a day, and still wash piles of clothes before sunset. By 14, she had learned the art of silence, how to swallow pain, hide fear, and bury tears where no one would find them. But one thing remained unbroken: her mind. Adana was brilliant, far beyond her age. Even with all the house chores and punishments, she topped every class in school. Teachers praised her, students envied her, but her aunt hated it. "Book cannot cook food," Chisholm always said. Stop wasting time and face your work. But Adana had made a promise on the night her mother died. She would rise, and she held that promise close, even when the world tried to take everything else from her. It was a humid Friday morning when the principal of her school announced a special meeting for the best students. Adana didn't expect it. She wasn't used to being invited anywhere. But when he read the list of names, hers was the first. She walked to the office slowly, uncertain, her uniform faded, her shoes worn thin. There she met Mrs. Nena Dyke, a tall, elegant woman in a deep blue lace gown, gold jewelry glistening on her neck and wrists. She smelled of wealth, classy, clean, commanding. A philanthropist, a businesswoman, the kind of woman whose presence filled a room. She looked at Adana with warm eyes. "So you're the girl I've been hearing about," she said, smiling. Adana bowed slightly. "Good afternoon, Ma." Mrs. Dyke studied her carefully. "You're young, but your eyes carry too many stories," she said softly. Adana didn't know how to respond. The principal cleared his throat. "Madam, this is the one, the student with the highest performance in the entire district." Mrs. Dyke nodded, then turned fully to Adana. "My foundation offers a special scholarship every year to one exceptional student. Tuition from SS1 until you graduate university, books, uniforms, feeding, everything." Adana's heart began to beat fast, but Mrs. Dyke wasn't finished. "This year's scholarship is yours." For a moment, Adana froze. She heard the words, but they felt unreal. "Mine," she whispered. "Yes," Mrs. Dyke replied. "You earned it." Adana pressed a hand to her chest. Tears filled her eyes before she could stop them. "Thank you, Ma," she said, her voice shaking. "Thank you. Thank you so much." Mrs. Dyke reached forward and gently touched her shoulder. "I see greatness in you, Adana. Don't let anyone dim you." When Adana ran home that day, clutching the scholarship letter, she believed her life was finally changing for the better. But she forgot one thing. Good news doesn't make everyone happy. Her aunt snatched the letter from her. "What is this nonsense?" Chisholm demanded. It's a scholarship, Auntie. They said I will go to a good school. They will pay everything. And... Before she finished, Chisholm tore the letter in two. Adana gasped. "No! Auntie, please!" "You think you will leave this house and abandon all your responsibilities?" Chisholm snapped. "Who will cook? Who will fetch water? Who will wash? You think you are better than my daughters?" Tears ran down Adana's cheeks. "Auntie, please. This is my chance." Chisholm stepped closer, eyes blazing. "You have no chance. Everything you are is because of me. You will stay here and work until I say otherwise." She turned to her children. "Come see. Ifunanya. Come and see the nonsense she brought home. Scholarship. So she wants to become big while you two stay behind." The girls burst into laughter. "Auntie, please," Adana whispered again. "Please, this scholarship. It's my future." Chisholm's face twisted into a cruel smile. "Adana, you don't have a future. People like you should not dream too high. Stay in your place." Then she hissed and walked away, dragging her daughters with her. Adana stood there trembling, staring at the torn paper on the floor. Her dream felt shattered. But something unexpected happened. Someone had been standing at the gate. Adana froze, her breath catching in her chest as she slowly turned toward the gate. There stood Mrs. Nena Dyke, elegant as ever, her eyes sharp, two burning candles cutting through darkness. Chisholm's face changed instantly. Shock, then fear, then a nervous, trembling smile. "Ah, madam. Good afternoon, oh," she said quickly, adjusting her wrapper as she hurried forward. "We didn't know you were coming. Please, come inside." But Mrs. Dyke raised her hand, and Chisholm stopped mid-sentence. "No," she said firmly. Her voice was calm, but it carried weight, like someone who was not used to being disobeyed. She stepped forward. "I heard everything," she said. "Every word." Chisholm's smile faltered. "Oh, it's not what it sounded like." She began to stutter, searching for excuses. "It is exactly what it sounded like," Mrs. Dyke replied. Her eyes moved slowly from Chisholm to Kamsi and Ifunanya, then finally settled on Adana. The girl stood motionless, her small hands shaking at her sides. "Adana," Mrs. Dyke said gently, "go and pack your things." Adana blinked, confused. My things?" "Yes." Chisholm immediately stepped forward. "No, madam, you cannot take her. She is my late sister's child. She belongs here with family." Mrs. Dyke turned sharply. "And how have you treated your sister's child?" Chisholm opened her mouth, then closed it. She had no answer. "Do you think taking in an orphan gives you the right to make her a slave?" Mrs. Dyke's voice cut through the air like lightning. "Do you think poverty is an excuse for wickedness?" Everyone went quiet. Even the chickens stopped scratching the ground. Chisholm swallowed hard. "It's not like that. She helps around the house, that's all." "She is a child," Mrs. Dyke said. "Not your maid." Kamsi stepped in, trying to save the situation. "Madam, we only—" Silence. Her tone made the teenager freeze. Then Mrs. Dyke looked directly at Adana again, softening, lowering her voice. "You deserve better than this," she said. "You deserve a life where your brilliance is not wasted, where your mother's wishes are honored, where you are not punished simply for being alive." Adana's lips trembled. "Auntie will be angry," she whispered. "No," Mrs. Dyke said. "A woman like her is only angry when she loses control. But she lost that the moment she tore your future in front of you." Chisholm moved closer, desperation creeping into her voice. "You cannot just take her from here. What will people say?" Mrs. Dyke faced her fully. "They will say you lost what you never deserved." Then she turned back to Adana. "Go," she said softly. "Pack only what is yours. Leave everything else. Your real life starts today." Adana walked into the tiny storeroom that had served as her bedroom for years. Her chest tightened as she looked around, at the dusty corners, the broken stool, the sack of gari she usually slept on. She owned almost nothing, just 2 old dresses, a torn exercise book, a pencil so short it barely had space to hold, and her mother's faded scarf. She folded everything gently. But when she picked up the scarf, she held it to her chest and cried silently. "I'm leaving, Mama," she whispered. "I'm leaving, but I don't know where I'm going." She wiped her tears and stepped out. Chisholm blocked the doorway, standing in front of Mrs. Dyke. "You can't take her without my permission," she insisted. Mrs. Dyke smiled lightly. "I already spoke with the village council before coming." That statement alone shook everyone. "Adana is legally under my foundation's care as a scholarship beneficiary," she continued. "And after what I witnessed today, I will make sure she never steps back into this house again, unless it is by her own choice, and not because she is forced." Silence. Long. Uncomfortable. Chisholm's face twisted in anger. "So she now thinks she's better than us, eh? Just because she got small scholarship?" "Enough," Mrs. Dyke said, and there was power in the word. "Your bitterness is not her burden." Then she extended her hand toward Adana. "Come." Adana hesitated, looking from her aunt, to her cousins, to the gate, to freedom. For the first time in her life, she made a choice for herself. She placed her hand into Mrs. Dyke's. The woman squeezed gently. "Well done," she whispered. They walked toward the gate. Chisholm shouted after them, her voice shaking with frustration and wounded pride. "Adana, If you leave that gate, don't come back to this house again." Adana paused at the entrance. She turned slightly, eyes still wet. "I didn't have a house here," she said quietly. "Only work." Chisholm gasped. And with that final sentence, a sentence that held more strength than her 14 years, Adana stepped out of the compound and walked into a destiny waiting to bloom. The car waiting outside the compound did not look real. To a girl who had walked barefoot on rough village roads her whole life, the sleek black SUV looked like something from another world. Smooth, shining, powerful, like a moving mansion on wheels. Adana stopped walking for a moment, overwhelmed. The sunlight bounced off the polished metal, reflecting a world she had never imagined herself entering. Mrs. Dyke placed a gentle hand on her back. "Don't be afraid," she said softly. "You're not trespassing. You're welcome here." Adana nodded timidly and climbed into the back seat. The interior was cool, the seats soft and creamy. A scent of vanilla and fresh leather hung in the air. She felt her breath catch as the door closed behind her. For the first time in years, she felt safe. The driver greeted her warmly from the front seat. "Good afternoon, young madam." Young madam? She looked around to see who he was talking to, then realized it was her. A small gasp escaped her lips. No one had ever addressed her with respect before. Not even once. As the car began to move, the village slowly disappeared behind them. The mud houses, the dusty children playing, the loud quarrels between neighbors, the familiar but painful signs of poverty. All of it faded into memory. Adana sat quietly, clutching her small bundle of belongings in her lap. "Are you hungry?" Mrs. Dyke asked suddenly. Adana shook her head out of politeness, but her stomach growled loudly, betraying her. Mrs. Dyke smiled kindly and opened a food flask beside her. The aroma filled the entire car, jollof rice with fried plantain and grilled chicken. "Eat, my dear," she insisted. "You can't think clearly on an empty stomach." Adana hesitated, not used to being offered anything so generously. But the hunger was too strong. She took the plate gently, almost reverently, and ate slowly, carefully, like someone afraid it might be taken away at any moment. Every bite made her eyes sting with emotion. This was the first time she had eaten meat that was not from someone else's leftovers. The first time she felt treated like a human being. Mrs. Dyke watched her silently, her own heart tightening. "How long have you lived like that?" she asked quietly. Adana paused. "A long, long time, Ma. And nobody thought to help." She shook her head. Mrs. Dyke sighed heavily. "Then let this be the beginning of a new chapter for you." Adana looked up, her eyes wide, hopeful, scared, grateful all at once. After 2 hours on the road, the scenery began to change. The narrow paths widened into smooth, tarred roads. Small huts transformed into tall buildings. People became busier, cleaner, better dressed. Shops grew larger. Cars multiplied. Lagos, the city of noise, the city of dreams, the city where destinies were either made or destroyed. Adana pressed her face to the window, mesmerized. So many cars, so many people, so much light. It was like stepping into a new universe. Mrs. Dyke watched her and smiled. "You'll get used to it," she said. When the gates opened, Adana thought she was dreaming. The mansion looked like something from a magazine. Marble walls, blooming gardens, fountains shaped like rearing horses, palm trees lining the driveway, and windows that stretched from floor to ceiling. The house was massive, beautiful, elegant, alive. A place built for royalty. Adana held her breath as they walked in. Her feet sank into plush white rugs. Crystal chandeliers glittered overhead. Fresh flowers perfumed the air.